And with this, we move on to our final discussion of the day. A brilliant discussion for that matter, and I would like to invite Mr. Manish Jain, CEO of Accelerate, to come on stage and moderate this panel. Can we have a round of applause for him, please? May I also request Mr. Ashok Hariharan, CEO for IDFI, to join us on the stage, along with Mr. Subhashish Gupta, who is the Senior Vice President of Risk Intelligence and Control with HDFC Bank. And to complete the panel, we have Mr. Arun Shankar Chandrasekaran, who is the Head of Fraud and Operations of Risk with Paytm. Can we have a round of applause for these speakers, ladies and gentlemen? And the topic of discussion is the Jamtara Diaries, the effects of social engineering and phishing scams on customers. Over to you, Mr. Manish. The panel is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so it's a conversation between friends is what it's appearing right now. I'll try my best to keep it more engaging so that there is at least something to take away for everyone. All right, so the topic is very interesting, and that's what piqued our interest to put together a panel, because it is, when you hear about Jamtara, yeah, it was a very entertaining series on Netflix and everyone enjoyed. Or hand to heart, let me ask, I know not many people in the room, how many of you believe that you have been impacted by a Jamtara kind of scam? One, that's it. Two, three. Okay, let me moderate the question. Do you believe you were targeted, but you might have not fallen victim to it? Right. So let me share some stats. Microsoft did a recent study on India on social engineering scam. Very specific. And these are the numbers. 70% of consumers in India who have access to any technology device, computer, cell phone, XYZ, have been targeted by a social engineering scam. Take a guess on how many of them actually got scammed. So 70% of the consumers who have access to computer, phone, were targeted. You know what's the number of how many percentage of those people actually fell victim to that scam? Take a guess, my panelists.
30%?
Your guess?
More than that.
Right, so the number is 31% actually. Now, much more scarier than that, what do you think is the average ticket size that they fell victim to? Another guess, let me ask Arun this time.
10 to 15K.
15K, see, these are practitioners, they know the answer. 15,000. So 70% of all consumers who have access to computers and internet, of that 30%, 31% fell victim on an average ticket size of 15,000. Now I'll tell you the big number of which 70% is, then you can do the math. How many billions of dollars we have lost as a country, as consumers. Now, I hope that piques the interest in this conversation. All right, so another study, and I'm telling this is just the beginning. The number of people in this country who has access to a technology device. All this started because computer device organizations, mobile organizations, when they're selling smartphones, they're doing the math that how big a market, which is my next big market. Itna math karne ki zarurat nahi, bahut obvious India hai, right? But if I narrow my question to saying what percentage of population is actually started using smartphones, then it becomes relevant, right? So United States sits at 81%, China sits at 70%. What do you think is India? Sorry? No, we are still just at 40%, 45%. So the runway, so if you're into a Jamtara kind of business, your white space is still 30 to 40% of India's really population. Big. And I'm saying why? Because Jan Dhan Yojana made all of us open accounts. So every eligible adult in this country has an account which can become a victim to a Jamtara scam. So that's how scary it is. If you all have done the math number now, 46% of India's population has smartphone, of which 70% were targeted, of which 31 fell for that, and average spend was 15,000 rupees of loss. It runs into billions, which comes into thousands of billions. Ikka dukka billion nahi hai. It is that big an industry. And that's why, I mean, we all laugh it off. Arey, ye to uske saath hua, mere saath nahi hua. So I'll start my conversation. I know a quick introduction, if you all can, of yourself. I'll start with mine. I'm ex-Chief Business Officer of TransUnion Civil. I was part of the founding member of the company in India. I moved out last year. I now run a management consulting firm which advises mid to large size companies in the banking financial services industries, including lenders and service providers to lenders, on their growth initiatives. I've been fortunate in last 12 months, 14 months, I've had 5 really big companies whom we've been helping on driving some of these initiatives. That led me to come to this panel because this is a very interesting area. Over to you, Ashok.
Hi, I'm Ashok. I am the CEO and founder of ID5. ID5, we try to solve exactly the Jamtara fraud. We want to minimize fraud. I don't think, so one of the things that the thesis behind ID5 was that fraud is here to stay. You can reduce it, you can control it. Some people try to ignore it, but it's not going away. And so if it's not going away and it's only going to increase as digitization happens, somebody has to solve this. And so we took that mantle about 11, 12 years ago now to try to solve it in pieces. I think we'll get it. The ecosystem has to start working together in order for this to happen.
Yeah, hi, I'm Subhashish Gupta. I work with HDFC Bank and Senior Vice President with the Department of Fraud and Risk. So what Ashok and Manish has just said, the volume is increasing day by day. I just give you one small example. MHA has started one portal, 1930 is the number, where if any person get victim, so he can go to the portal and file the complaint. So within the year's time, initially it was a 600, 700 complaints. Now 22,000 every month there is a complaint is filing. The volume is such a way is increasing. And what Manish has said, only 40% are using the smartphone, and similarly here, probably out of 22,000, only 30 to 40% are coming to the portal. Rest are not coming. So that means the numbers is much, much higher. So this is the pace of this cyber fraud is increasing in the country. That's it.
Hey, hi guys, good evening. My name is Arun Shankar. I manage and head Paytm's fraud risk spectrum. So I've been a core banker, and it has been a pleasure that we've been into risk and fraud area for long. It's been a couple of decades now. So whatever we have seen as conventional frauds earlier, now it has completely been technology. There are 2 events. Like one is our demonetization followed with our COVID. Thanks to that, the penetration of digitization has given us enough and more challenges. Let's speak more about that. Glad meeting you all today.
Okay, so let's start the discussion with panels. I want to first, since I want to make it more entertaining and engaging, I want to ask my panelists to share the wildest social engineering scam that they've heard or have tried to solve or came across, and they've felt like, wow. All right, so let's, again, I'll go in the order. I'll ask Ashok to share the first one.
So we work with a few insurance companies, and about 3 years ago, one of the companies, I won't mention the name, had this they brought up a very interesting problem. What they had was, so apparently what had happened was some scamster had got a list of about, I think, 1 million insurance policies, right? And all the data from this. And what he did was he went and opened a bunch of bank accounts in the nominee's name. Okay? Nominee's name, because nominee ka KYC nahi hota hai insurance mein, so anybody can pretend to be a nominee. Second, then what happened is he went to a bank, then he went to a panchayat and got death certificates, because death certificates are easy to get if you go to a panchayat. You don't go to the cities, you go to the villages. Then filed for claims. Incidentally, this particular company, by mistake, sent a SMS to the dead guy, or supposedly dead guy. That guy showed up at the branch and said, "I'm not dead." Kiske paise de diya? Right? That's how they found this problem. Right? So this is as sophisticated as it gets. The way that he opened the bank account is obviously the bank manager was playing along. Because KYC के बिना bank account open नहीं होना चाहिए, लेकिन हो गया यहाँ पे in the nominee's name. So that's my story.
Just recently, we all are aware कि electricity fraud. So there are n number of our customer also getting duped. There is a SMS or phone call coming to the customer, especially through the senior citizen, because they are alone, वो अकेले रहते हैं. In the late night, they receive a SMS or a call, SMS, that your connection will disconnect. You have to pay. They start with very minimum amount, 1,000, 1,500, 500, because so that easily, आराम से people will transfer that amount. So one of the senior citizen stays in nearby Dwarka, 82 years old, our bank customer. SMS reached late in the evening. He is staying alone. 1,500 rupees they demanded. उन्होंने click किया, and then after first 1,500 they said कि no, अभी पहुंचा नहीं है, please do it again. He did it again, and 4 times he did 1,500, 1,500. And after that, somewhere close to 7 lakh rupees from his account wipe off. Then we come into the picture, he called us, then we put the complaint. There are other complaints also. We put a complaint to the cyber fraud department, Dwarka, and the cyber fraud police did an excellent job. 69 arrests has been happened across the country, and probably you are also aware from that day, now this electricity frauds come down. Other frauds is coming now, 1+1 thali and etc. But yes, electricity fraud comes down. So that is the one of the experience which we have.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Very interesting. Oh, as we all say, fraud is a parallel economy. He just told you what is the potential of the economy, and I hope none of you take that very seriously to pursue it. Right? Identity theft is something which you all know. So we've been hearing about identity theft. That used to be KYC's documents, correct? Now impersonation is something which is increasing. It's on the left, because we believe WhatsApp chats, we believe the profile photographs in the WhatsApp. We strongly feel that the profile photograph, and I see some status update, I feel that that is the person from whom I'm getting this message. Somebody in the pretext of army, police commissioner, RBI governor, anything. There's a WhatsApp chat comes to one particular employee saying release 25,000 worth of 10 GVs to my email ID right away. And he gives a Gmail ID. He believes it. He sends 2.5 lakhs worth of gift vouchers to his email ID. And somebody is posting as police commissioner, he says, I got some suspicious records from your mobile. I want to immediately penalize you on this. This is a section, and he gives some relevant section. And this fellow, out of fear, sends some money to the link that he is sending. So it's all a simple but very, very trustable customer psychology. Right? We all have fallen prey to WhatsApp now. Whatever we see in WhatsApp, that is what we believe. The verification that we go to the profile photograph, Google it to see whether the profile photograph is matching, and believe that he is the guy. That amount of impersonation frauds is increasing. That is on the rampant stage now. Whatever we get, we should not believe. And the moment you click on a link, you have a malware inside your system. He uses your psychology first. He kindles the fear, or he kindles a greed factor in your mind, or you don't know, probably the lack of awareness. This emotions that we carry, that is leading to a lot of frauds now. I would say it's customers who are participating in this frauds. They use their device, they use their instrument, they complete the transaction, later they realize they've been cheated. And technically it cannot be a fraud to a company who has issued the instrument or who has acquired the merchant, right? In between, the customer who has entirely participated in this. That is becoming a bigger challenge for us to combat this, to fight this. These are a few new trends that I've come across.
Thank you. So I think even in my opinion, the social engineering scams, now they seem to be graduating version 1, version 2, version 3. And I'll share why. So the example he gave was the level 2, level 3 now. Example he gave was maybe very common, and police has figured out they need to go after the electricity. And the one he gave is a sector which is not badly targeted, just starting to happen, insurance. But if you think of it, the initial level of scams that you heard about and the whole Jamtara series is made on is SIM driven. So somebody is taking over your SIM, somebody is taking over your identity. So they're actually impersonating to be you. But the second level is, I am involving, as Arun was saying, the individual in the transaction, so you can't even really call it a fraud. मेरे को कुछ बेच रहा है OLX पे कुछ 10,000 रुपए की साइकिल डाली and I'm buying it and I transfer 2,000 rupees and the guy doesn't turn up. Now it's really hard because that's the level that they're going, or they are not just taking over your identity, but they're taking over your entire life. So they are targeting the transactions which are harder, and you can see in all this, the reason we have this Panelist, there's one channel on which it's getting attacked, which is the UPI. Paytm is a big enabler of UPI. Victim is the bank. If you think from a bank's perspective, they make money on transactions. So every fraud actually is a money when it is a fraud on a consumer, because it's not a fraud on the bank. But bank gets into trouble because of the reputation. That एक particular branch में 25,000 target हो रहा है, right? And then there are tech companies, why Ashok is on this panel, is that he got to solve this. So it's not just one of us that can solve for it. So that brings me to next level, which over last 10, 12 years and actively over last 3 years, Ashok and some similar people have been trying to, like, and a good business guy will always map a value chain, right? So what is the value chain, Ashok, for a social engineering scam?
So one obviously is identity theft. Identity theft, if you think about, I'll give examples for each one. Identity theft could be, I actually got this message, I get it frequently. I'm going to talk about you, Arun here. I get it from Pat YM, not Paytm, Pat YM, saying my KYC is expired. I'm sure all of you would have got this. I'm surprised that more people didn't raise their hand, because this is all attempted identity theft, right? And it's expiring, you must make this, do this. And now imagine if he goes to that link, uploads his documents, done. After that, your identity can be stolen. Whether it is stolen or not is a different question. Banks protect very well by making sure video KYC ho raha hai, ya KYC process has face match and stuff, but this is the first attempt, right? So now identity theft kyun karte hain? Because this, let's say he wants to now defraud somebody. Like, let's say I'm Ashok pretending to be Arun. What I want to do is I want to pretend to be Arun, open a bank account in his name, so that when I'm caught, when somebody catches that bank account, I'm never seen. It's only Arun who sort of the police catches, right? So this identity theft is actually happening because he wants to open a bank account. Based on that bank account, he's going to now do UPI fraud. Now, what is UPI fraud? He'll run and these guys are very smart, right? Now the third level of fraud is now that you've caught my identity and you've opened my bank account, what you're now going to do is you're going to sit there and you have a list of some 1,000 people that you are going to call to make these transfers happen somehow. How will you make these transfers happen? You'll say, hey, greed, fear, let's say greed. Oh, you've just won a Jeep Wrangler. You have to just transfer 2,500 rupees in order to get this car. Now this 2,500 rupees you transfer to this UPI ID, which is in the name of Arun, right? Because I'm the guy doing it, and he's calling 10,000 people like that. All he needs is 1% conversion, right? This is a standard conversion ratio in general lead gen. He's running a lead gen process, probably the best lead gen process there is. He's probably using Salesforce also, who knows, right? Right? So he's sitting there running through that list to see how many people will get through this. Now he's now transferred over a 5-10 day period. He has scammed as many people as he wants. Then he'll close the bank account or bhag jayega. Now when the police usually the police will come to the bank when enough people complain. They come usually once in a month and say, hey, here are 2,000 accounts where this kind of scam has happened. When they look at those accounts, you'll go catch Arun. Arun is like, I didn't even know I had this bank account. That is one option. Option 2 is mule accounts, where the person knows that an account is being opened in his behalf. He's some villager who has given his identity card. OTP, Aadhaar OTP also will work because he'll tell him to tell this to the fraud. So he gets some 5,000 rupees to open a bank account in his name. Police goes to him, he says, हाँ मेरे को तो 5,000 मिला इसीलिए मैंने किया. Nothing you can do about it. This guy cannot, they are not going to take him to jail because nothing you'll get out of that either. So that is your second type of fraud. Now okay, so now you have your lead gen process. Now how do you get leads? It's the third problem, right? Like now leads, so you'll get through different means. Now some of it is obviously you're getting from either insurance company, some you're buying from some lead gen company probably, right? I mean, because this is how they do it. Like lead gen companies, you can get about 10,000 leads for some 50 paise these days, right? You'll go get it from there. He might use LinkedIn, Salesforce Navigator, LinkedIn Navigator, all of this. They are sophisticated. Just like we do lead gen, they're doing lead gen. Now the third way that you get this data is, let's say you go to social media. Now, 2 examples here. In social media, you'll put in saying that customer care for HDFC Bank, right? And actually happens for pretty much every bank. There might be a YouTube video with a wrong number of an HDFC Bank, right? Like, or on social media, it might be some Reddit, it might be some Twitter thing. We're saying customer care for Flipkart, customer care for so and so. What these, let's say you don't get a Flipkart delivery, you go and search on Google, Flipkart customer care. Now what he has done is he has just engineered an SEO campaign where his number shows up before the bank's number, right? So the first number that's going to show up is customer care for HDFC Bank with the wrong number. When he calls him, he says, हाँ sir, let's say, let me take Flipkart as an example. Somebody calls and says, मेरा delivery नहीं हो पाया. हाँ, delivery नहीं हो पाया, नहीं आ रहा है, because you have not paid the thing, paid this value. The guy says, you pay it and we'll send the delivery. Now he pays 2,000 rupees, then he'll pay another 2,000 rupees, and he'll pay पैसे नहीं आए, then 6,000 rupees का usually they'll keep it below 5,000 rupees so that it doesn't go to cyber cell because nobody goes and complains for 4,500 rupees. So that's the magic number, right? And that you do in bulk. So you're not doing the 7 lakh scam, you're doing 10,000, 4,000 rupees scams, right? It's much more valuable, nobody goes and complains also. So this is your social engineering sort of, what you do is, and then the third one is account takeover. Now account takeover, what do? Let's say you have a Google, you go to Google Maps. This actually happened to me, by the way. Now I had a scenario where during COVID time, I have my local wine vendor called Sunny Wines, who I call all the time for delivery. So this day I was having a party, COVID में party नहीं करना चाहिए, but कर रहा था मैं, right? I was doing a party and I had called people over, so I needed some alcohol. So I called this guy, and usually my regular guy, but I didn't have his number on my phone. So I Googled the number. I went to the page, which is basically on Google Maps, called that number, and I said, this is my order. The guy said, no problem. Just transfer 35,000, because it was some 30,000 rupees or whatever I was spending. He says, transfer that money, then I'll send it. I said, yes, to karte nahi ho aap. Usually, you give it to me and then I pay you. Nahi, rule change ho gaya because COVID ke time we are having a lot of issues, so you have to pay before you deliver. Now, obviously, I run a fraud check company. I shouldn't get defrauded, so I didn't. So I said, okay, let me, no, I'll call the other guy, which is London Wines, and get it. He said, no, karte hain, all of this stuff. Put the phone down, I called a friend of mine. I said, ye, Sunny Wines ka number hai? And he gave me Sunny Wines ka number, very different from the number that this Google account had, because there was no account verification that is done when a number gets changed on Google. Right? So they're attacking Google. They're attacking social media. They're attacking each and every forum that they can get, because all they have to get is 10 bakras, right, in a day. 30,000 rupees, 3 lakh ban gaya din ka. So now, then I called Sunny Wines and I said, your account has been taken over, by the way, by this guy. There are many such frauds which happen, but I'm not going to, I think, I don't want to take more time, but there is so many of these which happen, and this is sort of what we are trying to solve.
Thanks, Ashok. You can see he's very passionate about, I hope, passionate about solving the fraud. All right, so I mean, if I find the nuances in every example that we shared here, you can see the value chain of creating a scam like this is there's a first step at ID creation. Either you're taking over someone's ID or you're creating a new ID. Second is, for this scam to happen, a phone and a SIM is the most important thing, right? So that's the second step in the value chain. Third is, an account need to be created. So bank needs to be involved for that money to move. And the fourth and the toughest part is, how do you enable the individual to transact? बाकी सब कर लिया, अगर transact कराना नहीं आता है तो पैसे नहीं आएंगे. So those are the four. So I'll change tax and ask a question now to my panelists. Arun, I'll go with you first. So while we were preparing for this panel, there is an interesting comment that Arun made, is that customer participation, he also stated that example is the highest right now. In terms of the Jamtara, agar naam lein, because topic is that, or social engineering fraud. Greed, ignorance and fear. They're engineering on any one of these, right? So I want to ask Arun, for taking over a transaction, which of these levers do you think they're playing the most in the current trend that you've heard?
Thanks for the question, actually, because this is one important aspect. There are various sets of people here, from fintechs, from banks, from telcos, so whatnot. The customer involved frauds, why do you call this customer induced frauds? So we built a lot of controls. When we started seeing customers are being duped in phishing, wishing, in terms of social engineering behaviors, we thought we'll put a lot of identities around one bigger element, which is the device. Now, mobile number is device is the identity. No more my KYC. So we built a lot of controls there. We started seeing changes in patterns, behaviors in device, in user behavior, in keypad speed. We put a lot of technology there. So we started averting a lot of frauds. We were very happy. So we thought, like, we are there. Okay. We started stopping frauds, or so kind of, not stopping, that would be a wrong word. We started arresting or averting certain kind of frauds. Then came the change. The fraudster realized, okay, now that you're realizing that I'm taking over somebody's account, I will make that person to do it. So we started kindling this kind of behavior. This has been omnipresent, but now it is coming in a different form and factor. So as simple as that, I'm calling somebody, or I get a WhatsApp again. So I'm telling you, WhatsApp is becoming one bigger stream. Like how I get my job postings, how I get my honey trappings, everything is happening in WhatsApp. So we don't know. We browse something and probably everything is heard, seen, felt by something around us. Trust me, your Alexa is on, you speak about your shoes, and then you see all your shoe ads in your Facebooks and your social media. Same way. So you get a WhatsApp, somebody is offering that I'm running a company which is into money transfer. It's an earning scheme. You're going to do transfers to certain cards that I'm giving to you. I'll give you 10% on the overall money that you're transferring. Whatever money that you have. You do 1,000 rupees, you get 10%. The initial couple of money transfers, he gets money. The third one is a big amount. He does a 10 lakhs. Then the WhatsApp number goes, and nobody sees it's a VPN number, or it is a web-initiated WhatsApp, and it is not a mobile number associated behind it. This is one use case. Say they do credit card bill payment. There are fraudulent accounts opened that side by an issuer. The money goes to the credit card. From there, it has been used. And subsequently, the moment it is reported, the card is blocked. Till such time, the fraudulent money payments are going there. And they are using it. These are for retail payments, cash outs. They load wallets, they transfer. There are a lot of ways and means. This is one. Loan repayments. Fraudsters are targeting customers to make loan repayments to somebody else. Both are victims. The person who is the beneficiary is also a victim. The person who is initiating the transaction is also a victim. In between, he is making money as commission. This guy's complete money is gone. The person who is initiating the transaction, remitting the payment. The person who is supposed to make this payment, he has got into a debt management service by mistake, as he rightly said, through Google. And he says, okay, you have 10 lakhs outstanding, you pay 8 lakhs. but you give me 1 lakh on that as commission. I will ensure that the complete payment goes there first and then you remit payment. He collects payment from both of them. And both of them are victims. When cops are trying to find out who is the actual guy, you don't know. There is somebody who is in between has liaised with it. So all these activities are completely participated by customer in free will, thinking that the end result or the end usage is different. The consumption is different. Awareness is one key word, or probably I would rather say most exploited word. It's pretty difficult. Trust me. We going to get this to a tier 2, tier 3 guy. I'll give you a tier 3 example. AEPS. How many of us heard about Aadhaar Pay? Campaign runs. A group of people goes there as we are Pradhan Mantri Yojana system. They walk up to every house. They take your mobile number. They take your fingerprint. They take your account number details, claiming that you will get 250 rupees. Not 2 lakh rupees, guys. 250 rupees to your account by this weekend. We are running a campaign. People are very happy to give the complete details of the entire family, whomsoever has Aadhaar Pay accounts linked. They have 1,500 rupees. That is also duped. So it is across. The only way, if you're going to ask me how to prevent this is, I don't know, we don't have a direct answer, but as you rightly said, the synergy. There are 3 parties to it, the bank, the fintechs, importantly the telcos. And intermediately we have a lot of service providers who have the ability to give me the intelligence to solve for this. So all of us has to come together to solve for it or probably work towards solving for it. We don't have a direct solution. There's no stopping to it. We can restrict it.
Thank you so much. So I'll move my focus to a role of the bank. Before I pose the question to Subhashish, let me share another story which was in newspapers recently. A whole branch was set up in Chennai, an SBI branch, which was a fake branch. Thousands and thousands of people were duped by a fake branch. Look at the audacity, right? Second, these people are now going international. So India has become a hub. The reason why Microsoft did that study is that every month millions of the scamming calls or SMSs or emails are originating from India. So we are become a hotbed for social engineering scam. अगर हम branch खोल सकते हैं तो सोचो online में तो क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, right? And so the problem is, the big question that we have as an industry, not just banking, but all industries and all individuals is, can we control, reduce or ignore? Ignore का time तो जा चुका है as consumer. If we believe ignore, मेरे साथ तो नहीं हो सकता है, सबके साथ हुआ है, आपको शायद पता नहीं है. ये 60% तो मालूम पड़ा है अभी, सबके साथ हुआ है, पता नहीं है, right? Now between control and reduce, obviously our aim is to reduce. बट कंट्रोल भी कर लेंगे तो बहुत है, बहुत नाम खराब हो चुका है अभी हमारे देश का. So I'll now move my question saying, bank makes money, by the way, as I was saying, on every transaction that happens, they make money. It's like money laundering. Banks have responsibility, but for them, money laundering customers are the best customers because the volume of transactions is huge, right? So sir, what do you think deploying some of the technology solutions? In my previous life, we used to sell transaction monitoring systems to bank. The company that I used to work for, 9 out of 10 Indian banks had adopted the transaction monitoring system. So there is an age-old system that has been used to solve another problem. That's one. 2, what else can a bank, do you think, should do or already doing? So account takeover is the bigger problem, right? For a bank is concerned. So आपके हिसाब से क्या हो रहा है, क्या होना चाहिए?
Yeah. Before I come to the Manish, answer the question of Manish, fraud is nothing new. If we go to the ancient period, आप पीछे चले जाओ, और इतने पीछे, in the age of Ramayana, huh? When Sita Mata was in Ban, huh? And Ram went for the Hiran ko lene, suddenly they heard Ram is calling, help, help, help. Yeah? And then Sita Mata requested to Lakshman, ki please jao and help to your brother. Huh?
True phishing.
Yeah. And then Lakshman went, before going to helping his brother, he put a Lakshman Rekha and asked to Sita Mata, don't cross this Lakshman Rekha. After that, Ravan comes with impersonation. Huh? And rest we all know. The point of the matter is that we should not cross the Lakshman Rekha. What we are doing. We are in phishing. We are sharing everything. In a call, we are saying the OTP or whatever. So still the situation is same. Though numbers are increasing, but situation is same. He heard Ram is calling, you can say phishing. Impersonation, Ravan bhesh badal ke aaya, impersonation. The only solution is that you should not cross the Lakshman Rekha. Now coming to the Manish question. There are multiple things in ATO, account takeover. Most recently, if we go to the recent past, this is the malware attacks. Day before yesterday, we and my colleague are sitting in MHA, and we came to know that MHA has arrested, rather Ranchi police has arrested one guy in Jamtara. Okay. And in that guy's mobile is having more than 10,000 bank account detail with phone number and UPI codes. And what they are doing, APK, they just send malware, आपने जैसे ही किया, enter to your mobile, बाकी तो everything is finished. So this is the most recent way of account takeover. SIM swapping, पुराना हो गया है. Now another thing, eSIM. eSIM is another area where account takeover, fraudsters are using very frequently. What they are doing, they gathered some phone number, कहीं से भी, either from Vodafone site or Airtel site.
Parking lot, sir.
Yeah, parking lot. And they start hit and try. They go to the any bank website, suppose मेरे HDFC में गए, and they start entering the mobile number. If any number they get, please reset your password, or rather please enter your password. उन्होंने पकड़ लिया, this is the right mobile number of Subhashish or Manish or whatever, Ashok. And then they start doing the same thing, either phishing, either wishing, or anyway. And they manage to get the OTPs and all the credential, all the details, and they take over the account. Now challenge is that how we control what Manish is asking. Again I am coming to the same point that you have to maintain the Lakshman Rekha. This is the first and foremost thing. हम कुछ भी कर लें. If bank are doing, not only that, we will do, bank are doing, everybody is doing their piece. But it is very important to us to not to cross the Lakshman Rekha. Education is important. Very important. We are doing as a bank, SDFC, if we talk about, we are doing n number of educational series. Recently, if you are aware, we have launched the Vigilante. That is another way of giving the education. Moreover, second thing is very important, that is role of LEA, police. What happens if anything happened, if suppose I get duped, I will discuss with Ashok, I will discuss with Manish, I will never go to the police station. If the n number or frequent FIR and complaint go to the police station, I am telling you what I just said 2 days before the Jamtara mein jo hua, nobody is ready to go to for the police station for complaint filing. Quote unquote, MHA is saying, please you do the complaint. Banker is saying, no, nothing happens with us. आपको तो खाली नंबर मिले, मेरा तो कोई breach नहीं हुआ, no breach. Why should I go to and file a complaint? So the point is that we have to more vigilant, simultaneously we have to more responsible. हमें जाना होगा पुलिस स्टेशन में, कंप्लेन करनी होगी. If the repeated complaint comes, police bound to do the action. And rest, bank are doing n number thing, transaction monitoring, n number of things we are doing and we will do. But these are the two most important things which I feel. So one is the education, not to cross the Lakshman Rekha, and second is the go and file the police complaint.
Thank you so much, sir. So I'll move to my last question. I'm loud enough, I think. So last question is on the practitioners at the bank and the payment company. They've been targeted to use or actually abused by the fraudsters, and consumers is getting impacted now. But as a tech or analytics or a data solutions company, what do you think Ashok, I'll lead straight to one area that prompted the question. He said FIRs, file nahi karoge to kya hoga? But we know that India's data ecosystem has become strong enough. Bahut alternate data ka aaj conversation hua, right? I'll just unfortunately add a little bit to that. There is data available of every court case filed, resolved, or under progress. And every FIR in the country, I don't know how many of you all know, it's a mandate by government to digitize it. And that has been made available for tech companies to access and build solutions. So my question to Ashok would be, if you have to cut this transaction monitoring, आप कितना भी कर लो, लेकिन अगर आपको पता ही नहीं red flag क्या है, तो कैसे solve करोगे? So if he's monitoring my system, and he doesn't know that I already have an FIR against me, he will do nothing. क्या कर लेंगे, right? So Ashok, the question to you, how powerful are these solutions, and some of them I think your company is also working on, to solve these kind of problems? So while account creation, while a transaction happening, so can you stop at creation of account, or while the transaction has been enabled by the fraudster?
I will get to the court bit in the process of talking about the different stages that we get into. One, obviously there's a KYC norms in the country. They're very strong, but provided it's done right. Now let's look at, we are one of the largest vendors for video KYC in the country today. We actually do it for HDFC. We are doing a little bit for Paytm as well. Now, what we saw in one of the places is that a particular person came 12 times to open a bank account, rejected every time. This is in a single day. How was he rejected? Because his face match failed. Now what he was doing is he was using different ID cards, okay, from different people, and hoping that his face will match. Fortunately, the platform caught it. And when we talked to that particular bank saying, we saw this, what do you think? And he said, no, before we implemented your solution, we used to get about 2,000 requests from the police saying, ye account mein kya hua? That has reduced to practically zero. So if KYC is done right, you will solve for identity theft. But not only in banking system, bank has very, very strong, but it has to be done right in the telecom side also. Because that is your another source of fraud, right? If telecom if they start giving short codes without doing proper KYC, PAT-YM can exist. So telecom KYC has to have the same level of control as bank KYC or FinTech KYC. That's your step number one, right? Identity theft stop hua to a lot of these problems will go away, because you cannot open a bank account, and without opening a bank account, you can't take transactions. right? In your own name, you're not going to open a bank account because police pakad lega baad mein, right? You're always going to try to open in somebody else's name. So that's one set of control. Second set of control is around, if you look at court cases, FIRs, we do some work around this as well, is you can actually figure out on a particular number, on a particular UPI ID, there has been claims already in FIR and court. You can actually mine that. And imagine just being able to solve for that, saying that, okay, here's the UPI ID where sabse zyada scam hota hai, right? That also can be solved. Third way to solve this is in the social media side, we know which numbers are HDFC numbers and which are not. Wherever it's not an HDFC number, immediately raise it to like an HDFC or a Paytm, or go and raise it to YouTube to take it down, right? That also we have solved. So there are different places you can solve for. I do agree that education needs to be done, but education will only get you so far. Control, I think, is super important, and today we have enough tech in this country. India is a country of techies. We can solve problems well, but the whole ecosystem will have to help each other out. Telecom, FinTech guys, banks, Google, which is where a lot of the social media fraud happens. Obviously, even those people who give leads, Salesforce, I'm sure they have data on who are the fraudsters. So if we can bring it all together, and in one way we can solve it, but ecosystem needs to be built for this.
Right, thank you. So I'll end, we're right at 45 minutes that was given to us. So I'll end with the story that was most audacious, in my opinion, that I have heard or probably experienced, not directly, but some of my peers did. So this is a case where a multinational company operating in 25, 30 countries, they have Asia headquarters, India headquarters, blah, blah, blah. The CEO of one of the regional headquarters gets an email from the global CEO saying, we are in the process of buying stake in a specific company. And this transaction will happen from your P&L because this business is to enable Asia business. And the CEO, the email came from an email ID which is almost like that company's global CEO email ID, which is probably same. With bank details, routing details of the bank that company uses, right? It also did the math based on the stock value of the company which that individual referred that they're going to buy, and we're buying at this valuation, and we need $25 million to be made available from this P&L, and it initiated 3 transactions. And the money was siphoned off overnight, $25 million. And it is the most audacious that I have heard. Obviously, a lot of people lost their jobs in that company. But to Arun's point, it was impersonation to the next level. Your peer, your boss sends you an email from an ID which belongs to the organization that you work for. How are you going to prevent that? So I think us as corporates, when we believe this Jamtara is all about individuals getting duped, the level 3 or level 4 that I was just mentioning has begun. And it is a disease across the world. And this was thankfully not an Indian company who did this. An MNC company targeted by a Chinese scamster. But it will happen. I mean, we are getting more technology oriented. Everything is available in digital world. Everything is on the rails. Every individual's data, every company's data is accessible, which means it's going to heighten the problem further and furthermore. I don't know if we have time for questions, but we can take few. We do have people who have to go out for other commitments, so we'll take maybe
Hello.
2 questions.
Hello. Yeah, Manish, first of all, one of the best panel discussion from
Thank
the morning.
you.
Okay, I
Thank you.
loved it. So initially when you have started the conversation, you have thrown the numbers. Okay, the smartphone used in India and abroad, China, US, and so they have a bigger number. These countries have bigger numbers. So I believe if they have bigger numbers, they have bigger scams.
Absolutely, they do.
So
They're already in level 3, level 4.
right. So what are the learnings from those countries to us? So they have already gone through or they are going through, and we are joining the lane. So what do you think? Yeah.
Is it okay if I answer that question? Because I do have personal experience on this front. So we got to remember, India, it's like India skipped the World Wide Web in our evolution. We moved straight to mobile. Large part of our population, the first time access to internet was on mobile. So in every case, when you compare to West, I think in this case it's a wrong comparison. The frauds that we are experiencing are unique to our country, to our social ecosystem. Because आपको लालच 10,000 रुपए एक थाली पे एक थाली free works. US में one meal पे another meal works, but it's only targeting a set number of people. हमारे यहाँ पे even us, if Zomato takes one thali pe one thali, even we will get duped because our social fabric is like that. Doesn't matter if I earn millions of dollars a year, but free, greed works more strongly in a country like ours. So I think we, unfortunately in this area, we need to have our own learning. Level 3, level 4 जब पहुंच जाएगा तब West का काम आएगा. But we're still struggling in this level 2, level 1 kind of social engineering frauds. I'm happy if any of you have any comments on that.
So I lived in the US for about 7 years, and UK as well. The frauds there are very tech driven, like we have not reached that point yet. What we are still worried about social engineering. वहाँ पे तो I'll hack my systems, and there are techies who are doing this.
Screen. I don't know how many of you all experience in India a blue screen fraud.
Yeah.
It is big in US. आपका
Yeah.
system freeze हो गया है. And then someone suddenly calls you, you have a
Exactly.
blue screen problem. As he said, I'll Google for IBM support.
Yeah.
Number आएगा. That blue screen is just taking over everything from your computer.
Right. So it's very different because वो उसका tech level higher है. ये हमारा we are playing on fear, greed, ignorance. I think it's still at that level. When the techies enter the fraud industry, it'll get worse. I should have probably started a fraud company, considering the amount of money that this we could be
One
generating.
last question, if anyone has, and then we'll have to unfortunately close. Yeah.
Hello, I am Gagan from Xtrata. We are actually in preventive cybersecurity space. So we deal with a lot of B2B frauds happening. I want to say that there is a lot of focus in terms of detection cybersecurity. In many corporates, they actually invest a lot, have a good budget in terms of detection. But in terms of preventive cybersecurity, I think it's still very naive and it's not that mature as it should be. Especially in India, I have seen that. But in other geographies, I think maturity is still coming, but in India it's still lagging behind. Especially in the FinTech sector, it is very critical to have preventive cybersecurity. What's your take on this, and why do you think the maturity has not yet come?
It's probably better for
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. Yes, that's an imperative question. Does the emerging fintechs have adequate ring fencing in terms of cybersecurity? Right. I would rather say probably a common note. So when we compare ourselves in terms of how ahead we are in terms of unique frauds pertaining to a country, the controls or the fraud measures that we have, that is also specifically at a very, very matured stage. I would say it is in a good state. I'm not denying that. We didn't speak about that. We spoke about the flip side of it, how frauds are happening. There's a lot of metrics which has come in, a lot of awareness that has come in terms of how even fintechs or banks are approaching to handle frauds. Coming to a specific question on cybersecurity, yes, that awareness is something which now RBI is also pushing in. Earlier it was not a regulated side where all fintechs happened. It was a two-party model, customer, bank, everything was smooth. Now there's a multi-party model. There's a lot of technology partners, application service providers, you have a third-party app providers, a fintech partner, a payment aggregator, why not? There are 7 to 8 parties when it comes to different types of payment methods. So ring fencing this or evolving with new set of controls from cybersecurity or pilferage of data, to be very honest, is in a naive state, and we are getting right guidelines from REBIT and RBI also. And most of the entities who have been keen in this financial transaction platform, who is handling money, would have to undergo that. It is not too far.
Thanks, Arun. So I'll just add a little bit, because I do come from an MNC environment where cybersecurity was at the prime because we held the entire country's data. But I can tell you from banking ecosystem perspective in India, almost every bank that interacted with us when I was in that company, even HDFC Bank, if you think of it, has an ISG department now, Information Security Group. No new initiative gets passed till that group has given a tick mark. And every bank in the country today has that, and the maturity level is pretty significant. So it is getting there, but as I said, our frauds are very different. So I hope we have answered your question. It is there. Business for cyber security, guys, is there. When the level 3, level 4 starts coming into play, banks can start doing preventive on that front. All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Panelists, for your
Amit,
time. We
Amit,
do
I have
have
just
to
one
rush out.
question.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks to our panelists for such a wonderful